Well, good evening. I wanted to show everybody some advanced features in the BookKeep It software. And I've already logged in, and you'll see that I can identify myself here as Larry. That's my login credentials. And I haven't selected a client yet, I don't believe. And so I'm going to select a client. And I've already loaded the client for you last week. I'm going to choose that client. Once I do, you see the client's name is Test. And so what I've got here is I'm identifying this as client. I'm operating in the client named Test. And I'm going to go to the statement tax codes. This is where you're going to do most of your work. I've already uploaded the statement. And what you'll see here is a variety of column headings: transaction date, description date, amount, tax code, keywords, and the name of the statement. So we've named this statement specifically test one. If you load another statement to this client, it'll be called something else, and it'll all blend in there. So one of the first things I want to do is sort by the tax code itself, and all I have to do is just push that sort descending, and it'll do me for me. And you can see now that all the tax codes are blank. And so what I want to figure out is, well, how many tax codes do we actually identify for this client out of the 590 some rows of expense information? And here we are. We're between 153 and 171. Well, 153, 153, 4, 5, 6, about 156 blank rows against 590 something rows. So if I take just open Excel sheet, I say, well, let's see, I got 156 approximately by about 596. And I say, well, plus that divided by that. I've got 26% that are blank. So that's going to tell me I've got about 73 point some percent that have already been identified by the software. That's a pretty good hit. So 73% of the entries have already been identified in the first round with the software. So that's how far we got last week. But one of the things I want to show you this week is how do we now go forward? How do we complete the rest of the process? And what I want to do is I want to show you how to do some things. Let's identify, for example, state trailer. That looks like an identifiable key phrase for this client. And so we're going to assume that state trailer is a tax code that is supplies. And the key phrases we're going to identify here, the key letter sort, state trailer. Control V and save. Now, what's happened is I've set up the keywords of state trailer as being identified as supplies, and now when I run the tax codes again, it's going to find anything that's got state trailer with it and identify it as supplies. And since we've done ascending sort order, then it's no longer going to be on this page anymore, but we can have confidence. So how do we do that? Well, let's go back and find it. State trailer. We've got a search button over here, so I can look for state trailer. And when I do, there's my entry, state trailer, and there's my supplies. Now this one happened to have right, so I've got state trailer associated with supplies. Let's now go back and get rid of that. Get rid of that one. And what else can we identify here? Well, this looks like some Walmarts, Habitat for Humanity, Napa store. Well, we got Napa. We can use that one. Keyword, Napa store. N-A-P-A-S-T-O-R-E, Napa store. And what would the tax code be? These are probably going to be parts. For this client, let's just call it auto. Okay, so now associated with this client, anytime I see the word Napa store, it's going to search that out. I'm going to save it and run the tax codes. And let's see if we've got it again. And we've identified that. So what I want to do is I want to go through the entire remaining file and I want to identify whether there's anything in this file that I can continue to sort on. It's pretty tough to sort on this Walmart Supercenter type things. It's not really clear where that's going to be, but this looks like a car wash over here. So I'm going to put in a keyword of car wa. So car wa, and we're going to put that under auto. And I'm going to save that, and I'm going to run the tax codes for anything that's got car wa in it. There's a Miller RV service, MWDAZ, Nick Knuckles. So we could Miller RV. Oops, gotta remember to double click on that. Miller RV, and I'm going to put that in a tax code of supplies because I know what this person does for their work. Miller RV, going to save that and run the tax codes. So what we want to do is you want to use this automated system to be able to continue to identify more and more and more of the entries, so that next month when we enter in the entries, right now we're at about a 73% hit ratio, or 70. 72, 70, I don't remember what it was, but we want to get up to 85, 95% hits. I'm probably not going to be able to identify the Walmart, so I'll have to ask them about Walmart, and I'm going to have to ask them about any of these checks and have them give me entries on the checks. Now, one thing about checks is that if you have access to the bank statements, a lot of times you can actually see a physical copy of the check, that the bank computer system will allow you to see that check, and that may give you enough information in order to solve the challenge. What is it? Check 1655 here for $257. We may be able to know by looking at the bank that that went to Raymond Smith, and that Raymond Smith is one of their subcontractors, etc. So, so a couple of tips I want to bring with you is that you can add keywords and tax codes, and when you add a keyword and tax code at the client level, it's only going to be added to that client. So you can customize certain things. Let's say that this client, that every time they go to Walmart Supercenter, they're buying supplies, and you can just then identify Walmart for that client for supplies. So that's nice about the keyword and tax code identifiers, is it's specific to the client at your level. I have the ability to create some macro changes, but at your level it's be client by client by client. The other thing, however, is let's say that you identified that car wash thing, and with your client Randy Smith, but then you go to Debbie Jones, and Debbie Jones is not sorting on car wash. That's because your keywords and tax codes are client specific. I think that's a pretty good safety net for you, and will keep you from kind of cross-pollinating into areas you don't want to. So what you want to do is if you're going to create these keywords and tax codes, one of the things you really want to focus on is making sure you're getting really unique identifiers. Arizona Steel would probably be a good identifier for me, and I know that's going to be a part scenario for this client. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Arizona Steel. And this is part of the evidence that I haven't pre-worked this. I'm just putting up here for everybody to see, and we're going to call that supplies. And so Arizona Steel, supplies, save, and now anything associated with Arizona Steel is now going to go, boom, it's gone, right? So it's been identified now within supplies. Okay, so what's important is that you identify keywords that are unique, highly unique. You recognize the keywords that you enter that are new keywords are going to be specific only to this client, and you'll even have a way to manage those keywords. And then you want to use standardized tax codes, tax categories that you'll become more and more familiar with. And so let's just, for giggles and grins for this client, let's call the Walmart Supercenter for this client only. See, I can do that. I can call it a Walmart Supercenter, and I can call it supplies. Right now, when I do that, run the tax codes, all those Walmart Supercenters are going to go away. And then when we try to identify, well, how many have we actually identified at this point? We're going to be at higher number. Okay, so looks like we've gotten everything of 134. So see how we were at a higher number before, now we're down to 134 that are left blanks. And really the first process I'd like you to do is just go through and make sure that, you know, the BFC 77 is actually supplies that you go through and just kind of scan quickly through when you've first entered a file to make sure that it's catching the appropriate keywords, appropriate categories based upon your own human interaction. And then as you go forward, it'll kind of train and learn a little bit. So anybody have any questions about how we're entering new keywords and using tax codes to teach the system so it'll automate even better for you in the future? Okay. All right. So so just looking over how the buttons and features work. So I've got the ability to search within this entire area. So I'm going to search for anything that's got an MW with it, just an example, and it'll give me every single entry that's got an MW. And so I happen to find one there, MWDAZ. I can present this either as a primary port or as a download format. This is the download format that it came in. I prefer to operate in the primary report, but you can operate however you want. I just like these things laying out over here. Whenever you want to edit something, you can either double click on it, or you can push the edit button, do the same thing. And then whenever you make a change, you always want to remember to save that change. You can do some start date, end date stuff here. So I'm going to say, let's do a start date of 01/01/20, 21 probably, and let's do an end date of 01/02/21. And I can put those in, and I think there's a search function there. I gotta get it. January 1st. And this one will go 01-02-2021. And I should have that function going. I'm not sure how that's gonna, I'll just have to look that up later. All right, so I can go over here and showed you the search bar and how that works. Descriptions, you can search specific items. You can do the primary or the download report. Under actions, we can do all kinds of things, including download this file, and you can download it back out. That's gonna be handy for you. And filters sometimes are helpful if you're running a big file and you're trying to filter through it. And remember to save all your work all the time when you're doing it. Okay, so the magic is, remember, when we're done with this and we've gotten all the accounting done, then as long as you're operating on this client, all you have to do is push sum and it's going to give you the sum of all the categories: payroll, postage, auto, materials, owner draw, automotive, advertising, phone, etc. It's going to give you all those sums over there. And then if you just export those sums, action, download. I'm going to download it to an Excel file. Open that Excel file. And now I've got the really good beginnings of an entire profit and loss statement. For me, I would probably pull this, enable letting, control new, and let's put it down here a little bit because I'll need some income above it. Okay, and so so profit and loss statement would look like income, say $35,000, and all these issues down here, and then I can just sum. And my favorite version of sum is to use this sum command. Okay, so I've summed up now all the expenses, and then I'm going to have a net plus 35 minus expenses. It's going to give them a loss of $208,000. This would be a typical profit and loss statement that you would want to pass on to your client. We've still got some blanks that are not identified yet, but things are pretty much solid there. So that's what I wanted to cover for tonight, is primarily is how to operate within the use of the software, working through those tax code statements, so that you can add more tax code statements and get through your keywords and your tax codes, and then remembering how to use the sum. So, any questions about operating more advanced features in the software? Okay, so I'll try to be here on Tuesday nights for questions and answers and such. I do have a page up on the Bookkeep It Facebook site. If you'd like to have access to the software, then just download that, send it off to me, and we'll get you access to the software for, I think it's 90 days for free or something like that. And then people have asked me several times, we tried to make it very clear, no, there's nothing else to do. If you don't want to continue, you're not going to be billed, that kind of thing. If you do want to continue, you'll actually proactively have to set up a payment. And I think it's $17 a month for an individual and $47 a month for a tax pro. So that's what we have for tonight. Thanks so much for sharing, guys.